Hello Internet, and today's video is going to be day 4 of top 7 in 7 days. This was started by Book Roast, so go check out her channel and see what her opinion on it is. Today's topic is top 7 creative worlds, so worlds that you really love and you really enjoy and you just think are magnificent. So hopefully I can get through this without stuttering like an idiot, unlike past videos. But if so, stick with me. And of course, none of these are in any particular order. These are just 7 worlds that I've found very interesting and creative. Oh, and one more thing. I want to say Harry Potter, but I kind of used Harry Potter twice already in my top 7, so it feels unfair to constantly say Harry Potter and give away that space. So Harry Potter is a place I would love to live. It's a world that I happily enjoy, and it rests in my heart, but I'm going to give these slots to someone else for the sake of, difference of diversity in my choices. So yeah, also all of these books are ones that I've read in 2017. I've limited myself to that simply because I want them to be more recent reads for me. Book number 1 is going to go to Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Cohorst. This is about 2 princesses. One comes from a kingdom and she has been betrothed to the prince of another kingdom. That prince has a sister. She has been told that she has to train under the sister, and in the way of horses. There's also a plot in which they have to figure out because people are rising up and revolting against the royal status. What I liked most about this was the idea of magic. So the foreign princess, in this case, the one who is meant to be wed, she has magic, but she can't let it show because the country she's going to hates magic and finds it blasphemy. I've always liked that concept of what religion dictates and how it can affect others around you. I also liked what kind of magic she had, even though we didn't really get to see a lot of it. I was very intrigued by that. But what I really loved about this world was this was a game of politics in some cases, where one princess was falling in love with someone who wasn't her betrothed, and the problem with that wasn't that they were 2 girls. It wasn't some sort of homophobia, the reason why people were so against the breaking of the betrothment, but because this girl was promised to the brother, she was already betrothed. That was the problem with them having this relationship. That's what I loved most about this world, that Audrey Cohorst decided not to go with that too easy trope of, oh, they're gay, so no one wants them around and wants them to be together. Instead, she made it a political, more in the sense where it had to do with your duty to your kingdom, being betrothed to someone else, and I really enjoyed that. Second book on this list is going to be The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Rae Carson. This has been one of my favorite books that I've ever read, and one of the main reasons why I love this book so much was because of the world. So we follow this girl, and she has this thing called the Godstone, and the Godstone is something that is given by God to certain people. Every 400 years there's a new Godstone bearer, and they're supposed to do something special, right? They are the chosen ones of gods. They're supposed to do something. So in this, it's mainly throughout the whole trilogy her trying to figure out where her place in the world is, what she's supposed to do, what is this big thing that she has the Godstone for. And throughout this we learn a lot about history, because at the beginning she's kept very ignorant of her place, of what she's supposed to do, of what she means to the world, and she slowly learns the history of the Godstone, of the invaders from up north, of the supposed invaders from up north, at correction. But I loved seeing the world, and I also loved that it was like a Latin-based world, which a lot of times I feel like when I read books or when I pick up books, a lot of times those worlds created are based in a European concept rather than a Latin concept or any other concept outside of the British UK sort of American concept of world building. So I really enjoyed having that, and I liked the twist of who's the invader and who's the invaded sort of conversation that they have based on the history of this world. Third book is is going to go to The Accidental Hero by Mac Mullish. This is the Jack Blank series. It is a trilogy. What I love most about this was just the fascinating concept of having a place called Imagination. 2 words, Imagination. So this follows Jack Blank, and he finds out that he is actually a citizen of this place called Imagination, and this is where all the muses and all the great ideas that go into imagination, creativity, entertainment, they all come from Imagination. So when he shows up, he finds out this fantastic island is just the best thing ever. It has like 5 different districts. Each district is something unique, something that you would only ever see in a book, but turns out the reason why you see them in books is because people visited this place. You have a very advanced sort of sci-fi, a technological place. You have a place called Mecca in which you meet AIs and robots. You have a place called Incognito, which is sort of like a Doctor Strange / Inception sort of switching, flipping world where like ninjas and all these things. You have like ninjas here, you have superheroes, you have a medieval place where technology doesn't work, and you just have all these different little places that cover every single world that you can think of that you have found in a book. So just by visiting Imagination, you could visit so many things that you've ever read about in a book. Those things that you read about in books exist here in Imagination. Of course, there's dangers because turns out that they are being invaded by an alien species, but you know, that's just the way of life. Also, there are also aliens involved. Like just any genre that you can think of that has some sort of fantastical element, that world probably exists on this island of Imagination. You can probably find some hint of that on Imagination, which I absolutely loved. I love that this book couldn't fit in one genre just because of Imagination. So book number 4 is going to go to Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. Now, I love superheroes. I love superheroes so much. They're one of my favorite things, and if I could pick a world that I was really intrigued by and something I had not seen as often before, I'm going to have to go with Not Your Sidekick. This follows a character called Jessica Tran. She ends up getting an internship. She finds out there's some sort of conspiracy going on with the government, and she also has a crush on this other girl. So that's basic premise, but what I loved about this world, superheroing was a job that you could get with the government. Like, of course, villainy was still villainy. It's outlawed, so of course villains become villains that way. But it wasn't just you going by yourself out there. You were given your station by the government. If you applied, you'd be set somewhere, and then from there on, anytime a villain or some sort of incident came on, it was up to you to go and help the police and go save the day and all that sort of stuff. And there was a ranking for your powers, for which power set that you went into. That depended on how long your powers worked, how powerful they were, and all of this sort of stuff for just the system in which it was set up for superheroes to have a paying job doing superhero work, or at least a government approved job for doing work. So like, you wouldn't be like chased after by the police all the time like Batman is, because the government approves of you doing what you're doing, so they ain't gonna bother you about it. Book number 5 is going to go to The Cats of Tanglewood Forest, done by Charles D. Lint, illustrated by Charles Vass. This is just such a beautiful book to begin with. That's one reason why I just love the world created, because it's visually pleasing. It's just such a green, beautiful place. But this is about a young girl named Lillian, I believe, and she lives on a farm with her grandmother. She goes off into the woods one day, and she falls asleep, takes a nap, and she wakes up as a kitten, and the whole journey is her trying to get back home to her grandmother. It's not her grandmother, it's her aunt. I'm pretty sure it's her aunt, I'm sorry. But get back home to her aunt in human form. So what I loved most about this world was bringing in the indigenous ideas of nature, of the beauty of nature, of the power of nature, of the creation of nature, of how nature ties in just as importantly as humans, and just that whole naturalism that goes with a lot of indigenous beliefs, and bringing that to life in this book, where that's not just a myth, something made up, but this is the world we live in. We live in a world where animals can talk. We live in a world of bear like people. We live in a world where spiders made stars, and I really like this world and just like the magic. I definitely love books where animals are treated with respect and they are thought of as smart and as equals. So I was already in love with this book for doing that. I also like this book because it showed a fox character that was both cunning and devious, but wasn't a bad guy, because I have never understood why foxes get a bad rap, because I just think they're gorgeous and I don't think there's anything wrong with being witty and cunning. So I don't know why people want to bash on foxes all the time and all those fables. Foxes are cool. Book number 6, I'm going to go with Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This one is actually really interesting because I would not want to live in this world, even though I find this world really fascinating. So this is a graphic novel of like 6 little short stories, and they all have like a scary kind of terror premise to them. They're the kind of stories that kind of make the skin on your arm raise and tingle. It's not trying to jump scare you. It's not trying to do that. It's trying to like tell you that those things that go bump in the night, those things that are scary, are terrifying and they are real. It plays on that factor that you have in your head where you start making up even scarier things. So the writer only has to hint towards something and already you're thinking like 20 even worse things than what probably really happened. So I love the build up and the world where it was like, you know, those things that go bump in the night, you're not scary. They exist. And I loved seeing that. I love seeing that world created around me. Freaking terrified me. I don't want to know there's monsters under my bed for real trying to eat me. For real. I used to, like, I was that kid that was, blankets were protection. Like, I half knew that I was crazy for thinking that there was monsters under my bed. Like, I was a logical enough kid to realize that I was just being insane, so I never called my parents in to, like, try to fix the monster under the bed issue. But I was also that kid just superstitious enough that I would be like, well, if there are monsters, this blanket will protect me, and as long as I don't put any of my ligaments outside of the protection and sanctity of the bed, I will not be eaten tonight. So I definitely like seeing a world where it just plagued it off that fear that like I had as a child. And sometimes I still do. Like, I'm always willing to believe something, right? I'm always willing to not fully deny a thing, because you never know. You never know. The last book, book number 7, is one I don't have in physical copy, but is Patrick's Nest, The Rest of Us Just Live Here. So this is a book where there are these things called the indie kids. So people called the indie kids are the chosen ones. They are the ones who fight demons and vampires and aliens. They're the ones that we read about in most fiction, where some crazy thing is happening and they just have to figure it out. Some weird love triangle, people die, come back to life. These are the indie kids. And in this world, indie kids exist. Weird stuff like vampires and aliens and all of that all exist. However, they're kind of distant from everyone else. So there's indie kids and the rest of us. And this is a story of the rest of us, of the rest of us's problems. And we follow a kid and him just trying to graduate. He just wants these last few months to be over. He's dealing with family problems. He's dealing with self-confidence issues. He's dealing with like an extreme case of some type of OCD. And he just has a lot of problems. It has nothing to do with being an indie kid. And I just love the idea of that world where there's obviously something terrifying going out there, like aliens trying to abduct everyone, indie kids battling over there. Every chapter heading's reminding us that there's some grand story being told, but at the end of the day, even outside of all this grandness of this magic, of these supernatural things happening, there's still very real issues that just have to do with emotions and feelings and talking to other people and getting along with other people and wanting to graduate from high school. And I just loved having a book where it showed you, yes, there are like crazy dangers out there, but sometimes those aren't the most troubling things to us. And being chased by like an alien with a gun isn't what really freaks us out. It's talking to people who we are attracted to. These are all the books where I found the world really fascinating, really interesting, where I was intrigued by, where I might or might not visit for the basis of what was told to me in the book that I was just fascinated with, right? If you have any books in which you really either want to live in or you think were just so well set up that you can imagine it as a real place, comment down below and let me know. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, click all those buttonnies. Be sure to go check out Book Roast and her video, and goodbye, internet. Strictly Vanti, I can't say the word.